Good morning, Malcolm Nance.
Is there really anything good about this morning?
Not really.
No.
Not really. I'm going on headline news at 10:30 Pacific because you can't be everywhere. It's the one TV spot that's open.
This is an all hands on deck situation. I mean,
Yes, sir.
everyone in the media, everyone has got an opinion. Everybody in this country is responsible to respond to what's going on these days. There's no relying on just pundits all the time anymore.
That's right, Malcolm. You and I have obviously talked on and off air. You obviously served. You know, my dad served in World War II. He was an assistant prosecutor at Nuremberg. You tweeted, "Did I see Trump just go openly Nazi apologist? We are in trouble. He's unfit for the job. He must be removed." I mean, of all the days, Malcolm, in this horrifying nightmare of the last few months, that's what I thought today. I agree with you. Why are there any generals still that have not resigned? You said, I agree the generals on Trump's staff must defend the Constitution, stand for duty, honor, country first. They must now resign. How does John Kelly sit there? You could see the look on his face, right?
I don't know. I mean, I watched the video this morning that was honed in on his face, and he was clearly, at one point he agreed with something about when the president said we didn't have all the facts that morning, but everything after that was grimace and eye rolling. And a man of honor, a true man of honor, would just say, "I'm sorry, I cannot work for this administration. It's broken beyond repair." However, I think General Kelly may feel that he's the last firewall to what's going on. I mean, there's been a rumor for some time amongst the Washington elite, which and somehow includes you and me, but
Yeah.
the rumor is that there is a Kelly McMaster Mattis, career suicide pact, that if one of them resigns, all three of them resign.
Yeah.
And so whether that's true or not, this is certainly a circumstance where any patriot would have to look inside himself and say, can I continue this? Is it in the best interest of the people of the United States that I continue to, work in this administration, or should he be a man of honor and say, you've insulted the people of the United States, you've equated, neo-Nazis with traditional American protest as enshrined in the First Amendment? Time for me to go.
Yeah, Malcolm, exactly. Why would any patriot sacrifice their reputation, for this person? Sorry, I'm trying to find words. I mean, why would you do it? And I was saying I had to look up what Antifa is. Malcolm, it's anti-fascist. I'm like, right? Aren't all Americans supposed to be anti-fascists? Really, is that a subgroup now?
Well, as you saw yesterday, Orrin Hatch's comment, actually I think it was on Monday,
Yeah.
Orrin Hatch's tweet where he said, my brother didn't die in World War II for us to be supporting Nazis and fascists. The greatest troll of all was somebody had sent a tweet to the 82nd Airborne official Twitter feed asking, hey, why is this guy wearing an 82nd Airborne hat? And the 82nd Airborne came back and said, anybody can buy a hat. Valor is earned. And they had a picture of the 82nd Airborne troops in Nazi Germany after jumping into Germany, holding Nazi flags up, saying, hey, this is who we fought. Some of the best trolling in the world has happened in the last 24 hours.
Thank you. I've mentioned that as well, Malcolm, because I can't imagine how people like you that have served, that have risked their life for this country, feel about these punk-ass playing army and hitting women and sporting Nazi flags, right?
What I find fascinating is how many of them tried to go into the army and were failures.
Yeah, like the guy that drove the car that killed this young girl.
He was kicked out.
Yeah, he was kicked out
during boot camp. How bad do you have to be? They either saw some psychological defect, or they found some reason that he was unfit for military service. He doesn't even get the title of veteran, right? He gets the title of kicked out, and then he turns to murder as part of this, Nazi white supremacist cause.
Yeah,
and
cowards, all of them.
Absolutely, they're cowards. And what he performed was an act of terrorism. I spent the entire weekend clarifying it was the exact same tactics used by ISIS and Hamas vehicle as weapon system attack. It was designed to impact an audience beyond the immediate victims. It was an act of open violence. And now we're seeing on the Twitter feed of these neo-Nazis and white supremacists this, butthurt sort of victim card that they're playing. But in the undercurrents on the dark web, we're seeing them saying they should arm themselves and they should start fighting.
And being empowered and emboldened by this president. And as you say, what happened to if we can't name it, we can't defeat it? Say it. White supremacist terrorism, extremism, right?
Absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But, this moment reminds me of something that happened about 20 years ago in my career. I met the state trooper who pulled over Timothy McVeigh after he had blown up the Oklahoma City bomb. And he said there was just something kinky about him. He knew a car would be speeding past him at 60 miles per hour because it was about an hour after the bombing. And when he saw the car, he realized his anti-government extremist training kicked in. No license plate. He had some crazy bumper sticker. And when he pulled him over, McVeigh beamed at him as if, hey, man, I'm one of you. And McVeigh and the right-wing extremists at the time thought law enforcement and military would join them and that they have some secret unwritten bond. And I think that the Nazi white supremacist KKK organizations, especially those who came out in their guns, think that that law enforcement was on their side and that the president from the top down is on their side. And that's why they continue to speak out, demand to hold more rallies.
You had tweeted now, restore all domestic extremism intelligence funding. I mean, because clearly this has the feel of something that's only going to get worse and is being, and the president is the gasoline on the fire.
You're absolutely right. And, he's got this aide there, Sebastian Gorka, a Hungarian who went to Britain, became a British national, then became an American citizen, fake terrorism expert, no experience in terrorism, went around and screwed up my special operations soldiers for years, spouting off radical anti-Islamophobic statements out of the Marine Corps University, doesn't even hold a security clearance in the White House because he can't be cleared. And he is a member of the Order of Vitesse, a pro-Nazi organization in Hungary that helped round up the Jews. And his wife was the person who went to DHS, she was assigned to DHS, who removed all anti-Nazi and white supremacist funding from the counterterrorism community.
Malcolm, I say it every morning. We are in a battle for the soul of this country. And, there are patriots like you that have been a Republican your whole life. There are obviously more and more people. But what is the tipping point here? What is the critical mass? I mean,
I think we're past it. I think Howard Dean made clear yesterday in no uncertain terms that the United States is now without a president. That what we have is a person who believes that there is moral equivalence between the First Amendment rights and Nazism. I mean, this country was built on protest and revolution. And for them to say, well, there's no difference between the Boston Tea Partiers and the British Army occupying Boston. I mean, this is absolutely insane. Everyone is now a patriot. Everyone is now responsible to lift their voices and say that we've drawn the line here. Howard Dean needs to be supported in his contention that we need to, start steering the ship of state through, when you've lost your rudder, you got to use power through each different propeller to keep the ship going.
Yeah, and you, as a Navy guy, know what you're talking about. I'll just do whatever you say. Malcolm, I mentioned something earlier, and, you're, of course, the person to draw all this together. But, look, I opened the show Monday. I said, we have a traitor in the White House who is defending other traitors that wanted to secede from this country. I was saying that, white supremacists see Russia as the last white superpower. We see the same kind of homophobia there. We see the same. I mean, there is a straight line with all this stuff, isn't there? And Russia obviously knew how to micro-target these groups in America to help install Donald Trump. Am I right?
You're absolutely right. And in the 1970s, the 60s and the 70s, the Soviet Union, because they were communists, targeted leftist groups in Europe and the United States, like the Communist Party of the United States. When the Soviet Union collapsed and communism was failed, they became a financial oligarchy. It is all about money. And Vladimir Putin and the follow-on to the KGB, the FSB, realized that it was the fascist groups, for anti-government groups, that were the most effective and were easily led to help facilitate the transition away from democracy to oligarchy and autocracy. And that's what Russia is today. Russia is the number one financier of neo-Nazi and pro-fascist groups in Europe. They created Golden Dawn and funded them. They are no longer backing Baader-Meinhof and the Red Army faction like they did in the 70s. They realized the real power for keeping autocracies like Trump and Russia in power is to back, anti-government extremists like the California separatists, the Texas separatists. The head of the California separatist movement just moved to Moscow. These people are being funded by a foreign resource, and many others are fifth columnists like Mike Cernovich and Jack Posobiec, two other guys who are failed military people. And these guys are working with bots and propaganda organizations in Russia to attack our democracy. And everyone needs to stand against it.
Quickly, Malcolm, a couple other things. Obviously, North Korea appearing to pull back